Alright, my starter was overflowing. It's ready to go. That doubled in size. I'm going to be making sandwich bread today, so gonna need 2 cups of this, but I gotta stir down the bubbles since it's not a measured by weight. Right, I realized I needed to get a few dishes done, so now I got my measuring cup and 2.5 cups of warm water in here. Let's get the sourdough poured in. It says we need 2 cups. We'll see how much I got left over. It's about 1 cup. It is floating. That is a good sign. This is my second time making this recipe. We'll see how it turns out this time. Oh, I'm making a mess. 1 more cup. Alright, I'm going to set you down, clean up a little bit. Okay, I got my 2 cups of sourdough starter in the bowl. I've got my wildflower honey, 3/4 cup. I don't know if you can really read that. Yeah, there you go. It is 3/4 cup. Just have the camera high. This honey's kind of old, so it has started to crystallize, and I'm going to stick in the microwave for a little bit just to make sure there's no clumps of crystallized honey. And then we'll mix it all in. Took a little bit to get the honey nice and smooth, so I'm just checking to see how hot it actually got. And I might let it sit a couple of minutes before I mix it into the starter because it's showing it's well over 100 degrees and I don't want it to kill all my yeast because then my bread won't rise. So while waiting for the honey to cool, I figured I could add the coconut oil that the recipe calls for to the honey since it needs to be melted coconut oil and it's kind of cold in the house. And actually it's worked pretty well. Measurements aren't exact because the spatula's in there, but you can see it's separated from the honey. Almost all the chunks are gone. Maybe all the chunks are gone now. Yeah, I think I'm going to add that in. And then I'll mix it up and start adding the flour. Well, I gotta add an egg and then I can start adding the flour 1 cup at a time. Still 120 degrees, so I'm gonna have to wait till that cools. This is the starter that we have left. After that, this recipe is supposed to make 3 loaves, and that's what I did last time. This is what's left from last time. It's been in the fridge. I only have 1 loaf in the fridge at a time, and then any extras are in the freezer. There's my chicken scratch of notes if you want to. I got the egg mixed in there. The instructions say to mix it in gently, so it's not fully incorporated. There's a snowplow going past. Oh, you guys missed it. Oh well. I'll edit that out probably. Anyways, so I've got the egg in there. We did the honey, the starter, the coconut oil, and the warm water. I still need to do salt, but I don't want to put it directly into the bowl because I don't want to risk it killing the yeast. Salt can do that, apparently. This is the flour I'm using. It's just something that's available. I've got all-purpose bleached flour also in a huge bag, and it'll work fine either way. It is recommended to use unbleached flour, and a lot of people are very strict about only using bread flour, which is whole wheat or any flour that has higher protein that's around 12 to 14%. I'm using all-purpose and whole wheat because, well, you see my bag. I need 8 cups, 8 to 8.5 cups of flour. So the way I'm going to measure it out is with this scoop, which, yeah, it's only half a cup, which you can see, but this scoop allows me to scrape the top off, so it's a level scoop, whereas my big measuring cup does not let me do that, and I want to make sure to be a little more consistent with my scoops since it's not by weight, it's by volume, so I'm just gonna do that for the sake of time and lack of a tripod. I'll show you what the dough looks like. We're 3 cups in, and I just wanted to show that you can use anything to stir your dough. I find that my silicone spatula doesn't really do the job great. It splashes everything around, and there's still a bunch of chunks when I use that. So I'm using my debubbler / headspace measurer for canning. Here's the numbers. Works really good. It's kind of funny, but it works. So yeah. Alright, so this is the dough with the 8 cups of flour in it. I still need to knead this by hand. The recipe suggested 5 to 15 minutes, just until it gets smooth and elasticy. Changed into an apron because I'm dressed to go to a Christmas party later with my husband, so we will try not to get covered in flour, but easier said than done. We'll see. Okay, so I did use the entire 8.5 cups of flour. It's still somewhat sticky. I kneaded it until it started getting more elastic and smooth. I didn't get it completely smooth, but I did the best I could, and that's gonna be fine. Here's a damp towel. I'm going to put that over the bowl, and it's warm and damp, but it's so cold in here, the towel's already feeling not so warm anymore. But just as long as it's covered and it's not going to allow the dough to dry out while we let it double in height. And I might not let it double completely before separating it into the 3 loaves and then getting it onto the second proof, because we gotta leave in like an hour, less than an hour. It has literally been snowing all day long, and I bet you can't even see it because it's very, very mild snow. It was a little bit heavier today, but Amazon must have dropped something off while I was getting the dough ready, or when I was in the shower, I don't know. Anyways, we just moved here like 2 months ago. Hi, goaties. There's the bunnies. Okay, I gotta get in. I didn't put a jacket on. I'm gonna get all covered in the snow. Ready to come in? Okay. It is the next morning, and I just baked the bread around like 6 o'clock. It's 11 now, so it's all cooled enough. I overproofed the bread, so it did collapse a little bit, but it didn't get dense, so this is what we're looking at. Not a nice shape at all. And then the other 2 loaves, this one, you can see, pretty flat because of getting overproofed. I figured all the air would have escaped from it, especially when they collapsed, but they browned nicely, and I haven't cut into this one yet, obviously, but I'm hoping the middle isn't underdone or anything. It would not darken at all. These actually, I think, were overbaked by a little bit, but I was trying to see if this would get a little bit of color. Tastes good. It actually seems a little bit sweeter than it was last time, but I followed the same directions, same recipe. These are just the scraps, so I'll let these dry out and get kind of stale, and then we'll grind them up, and that'll be breadcrumbs for like meatballs, meatloaf, whatever. But yeah, we keep them in Ziploc baggies in the fridge and freezer and pull them out as we need them.